2020 to order, and may we have Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In case of a fire, there are two ways to exit the chamber. To my left, exit through the council doors, turn left, and walk down one flight of stairs and out of the building. Or exit the doors to the rear of the chambers. In either case, once out of the building, walk a safe distance away from the building. Can I have roll call, please?
March. Oh, that's January. Okay. Linda DeGray.
Here.
Rich Suzak absent. Charles Ladd.
Here.
Francis Limo.
Here.
Mary Scott absent. Ken Nelson.
Here.
Virginia Higley. Oh, me. Here. Sorry. John Petronella.
Here.
Vinnie Grillo.
Here.
And Dane Thorogood.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to seat both alternates, Vincent Grillo and John Petronella, for the absent commissioners. And can I get an approval of the minutes of February 13th, 2020?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or concerns?
Just one on the last page. That's it.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Where it says opportunities and unresolved, it's got an A in there. It was second sentence, that the subdivision was filed and there was not a and. There's a, take the A out, that's all. That's the only thing I found. Not a and. So, that's it. I'm done.
Any other questions or concerns? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention? Zoning enforcement officers report. Do we have anything?
Rick was going to be here, but he's not feeling well. But he just wanted me to report on the zoning permit, which you had authorized at the last meeting, for 1541 King Street regarding the expansion of the liquor store. The commission had concerns regarding the pool that had formerly been on the property. It's not there anymore. And Rick has also been talking to the property owner about site maintenance. So he has said that he will fix whatever issues there are with the parking lot and the site.
Okay. Any questions for the zoning report? No? Next, town attorney's report. Is there one this evening?
I believe that, yeah, I believe there was one in the packet. There's just an update from Maria on the pending cases, if you had any
Nothing new?
questions for her.
No. Any questions on what we received in our packets about the pending litigation?
No.
Okay. Next is public participation. Anybody in the audience wishing to speak, please come forward. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Cheryl White. Address is 6 Willard Ave, Enfield.
Okay.
I'm here in regards to the property of 4 Willard Ave. It's a 39-foot wide residential that my property abuts to. Somehow, somewhere, I wish Rick was here, supposedly in 1969, a loading dock went in there. And I've been trying to find out if it's in there legally. I can't trace the paperwork. And I just want proof that it's in there legally because we're having issues with 53-foot tractor trailers in that vicinity. Debris, noise, I mean, everything. But I wanted to start with the loading dock to find out if it's there legally. So I don't know if it's something this committee can help me with. Rick was helping me. I was supposed to be here.
Yeah, he was not in today, but I know that he has been working on it. Also, the use that is operating out of that loading dock area is not an approved use. There have been citations issued for that. The bank has foreclosed on it, and so now the next steps to rectify the issue would be working with the town attorney.
This is the old electrical wholesalers building.
It's
believe so,
not
yeah.
the building, that's all business, which is legit. It's that little strip behind. It's classified as residential.
Right, but it's attached to that
It's
building.
attached to, and some of that building even overlaps into
Right.
four-wheeler. I'm just curious how this ever got approved.
So we normally don't do a back and forth, but just to answer your questions, last meeting that was brought to our attention. We're fully aware of what's going on there, and the town is working on it. It's going to be a slow process because, and I'm sorry, we're not dealing with an owner of a property anymore. It's in the process of being foreclosed, so who do you deal with? Banks really don't care, you know? So the town is very diligent, but in this particular case, it's like a blighted property, a house that's foreclosed. Who do you get to cut the lawn? You know, and it's tough to deal with these situations. So all I would suggest is keep in contact with Jen or Rich, and if, like I said, it's going to take time. If you don't feel that you're getting the help that you need, please feel free to come back to the commission. But I have all the faith in the town staff that they're going to help you, because before you came in, they're already working on it. And
Right.
we are fully aware of the
I've been in
situation.
contact with planning and zoning since October.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't get how we can't come up with a date that this went in there and how.
Welcome to our world. If you watch past meetings, we have the same concerns on issues, and unfortunately, you know, the staff hasn't been here all along, so they're trying to right a lot of the wrongs that have happened over the years, and it just, all I can say is please be patient, but we are on your side on this, and it may end up in court, and you know how long the court process takes.
Right.
So, but like I said, if you don't feel you're being represented by the town, please come back and speak to us, but I don't think you're going to have that problem. I think they'll help you.
Okay.
All righty?
All right. Well, I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name's Howard Blythe. I live at 6 Willard Ave, right next to the business with my wife. Been on that street for 37 years. And my question is, to the committee, is I know Rick supposedly told me that it's being foreclosed the end of this month. And I'm sorry, but I have a nervous condition.
Take your time.
Bear with me, in that the bank is gonna take over and is willing to work with Rick. Okay, and my question is, to the committee, is Rick had told me that he had to give the cease and desist order to the owner of the building. My feeling that the cease and desist order should have went to the tenant, and I'm wondering why it didn't go to the tenant, especially when it's a health hazard and an environmental hazard. That is my question. And I also, like you said, they are working on it, and I do appreciate it, but if it can't, nothing can get done, where do we go from here? That's my question. Because like I said, I'm talking about a health hazard, not just for me, but for the neighbors. My yard is full of this. Plastic, rubber, the street is full of it. It's going up to Infield Street. It's not just for me, it's for the kid. It's a health issue, plus it's a environmental issue too. That's all, you know, I really have to say. I know you people are working, and Rick is working as hard as he can, but if it can't be done, then what further step can we take? Me and my wife cannot afford an attorney because we're both disabled. So I don't know if there's somewhere else down the line, or we're just gonna have to wait a little while longer.
Like I said, you're going to have to be patient in this process. The reason the owner of the building was given the notice and not the tenant is because what are we going to do to the tenant? There's nothing we can do. They don't own the building, they have no stake in the game, and the landlord said they could be there. The landlord is the one that we could take action against, levy fines against the building and stuff like that. And the problem is now, the owner's changing. It's going from
understand
the
that.
owner to the bank, so we really got to start the process over again. Now, I'm sure they placed the notice against the deed on the building, so the bank is aware. But, it's easier, to try to work with people than to strong-arm them.
Right.
And I think Rick is doing it the right
I
way.
understand he's doing his best.
But he's got to wait for the bank to take ownership before they can even proceed, because the owner who's losing it could care less now.
Like I had said, I was just really curious about why they couldn't give it to them, because even Rick said it's an environmental issue. Now, it's a health issue, My wife's got COPD, and then they open the bay doors, the stuff comes flying out. And
Yeah.
like she said, we want the dock out of there.
We're in full agreement with you, and you will not have to take the next step. If the town can't get somewhere with the bank, the town will automatically go to the next step. Nobody likes doing that, but you're correct. It's about your entire neighborhood. Route 5, stuff like that, the traffic.
Right.
There's
It's not-
safety issues. There's a lot of concerns there. So the town's on it. It's just, in this particular case with the foreclosure, it's going to take a little bit longer. So it's a slow process.
Hang on and
Yes.
get it back.
All righty?
I appreciate it. I
No
appreciate it.
problem.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Anyone else at this time wish to come up and address the commission about any concerns they may have that is not on the agenda?
Thank you.
No? Okay, I'd like to. Next would be bond releases. Do we have any bond releases?
Nope, no bond releases.
No bond releases. Okay, continued public hearings. We have none. Boy, this is moving right along. New public hearings, PH 2967. Is there anybody here for that public hearing? And that is 127 Abbey Road? Okay. Come on up, Commissioner Higley.
The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearings at their regular meeting of Thursday, March 12th at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following. PH 2967, 127 Abbey Road. Special permit application for a garage addition and accessory in-law apartment under Section 4.50.10. Andrea Rossini, owner applicant, map 90, lot 79, R44 zone. And this was in the, dated this 29th day of February. Ken Nelson, Jr., Chairman.
Thank you. Please introduce yourself, name and address for the record.
Mark and Karen Rossini. We live in Springfield, Mass., 206 Bowles Park in Springfield.
Okay. Tell us what you want to do.
We want to put a two-car garage in, and we're going to have an in-law, an attached garage and an in-law apartment on top. And the main reason that we want to do it is because currently my wife drives from Springfield to Enfield to take care of the three kids, because my daughter works at Bay State and has to be there for rounds at a certain time. So she usually helps in the morning. So from there, she goes to work at Mount Holyoke College. So it's 5 days a week. Then I go over and get the kids off the school bus. Andrea right now is our healthcare proxy. So when we get older, we're trying to think ahead, and she's gonna hopefully take care of us going down the road. Right now, I live in a Cape. I'm on the ups, going up and down, so we kind of want to be on one level too. So that's the purpose. Make life easy. My son lives in Enfield also, and he has a granddaughter. So I got 4 grandkids, all under 10 and under, so that's really the whole thing.
So this is your daughter's house?
Yes, it is.
She owns it?
Yes.
Okay. Does she need to be here to speak?
The daughter, no.
No, okay.
She gave in the file a permission letter for them to apply.
Okay, good. Questions and concerns from the commission?
Just
Commissioner DeGray.
Just one question, because you're saying you want to be on one level. Just a concern, having had to deal with elderly parents living in my house, going up and down the stairs just to go to the garage to take care of the children. And yes, I am a senior citizen, I have to admit that. So just thinking about going forward, how that's going to affect you guys.
What, the stairs?
The
second floor?
stairs, yeah, going up and
We've
down.
made the stairway wider.
It's wider, so it'll accommodate an
a
electric chair.
lift.
Cool.
So I had that
thought about
put into
it.
design.
In place.
That was my big concern is, you know,
Yeah.
as you got a little older,
I was-
having
yeah.
a problem. But
Yeah, I was
just
thinking
wondering
about
if
the
you'd
same
already
thing.
thought about that. Great,
Yeah.
good idea.
Any other commissioners? Questions or concerns? Okay, at this point, any staff comments, concerns, questions?
Nope, they met the regulations as far as we could see. The only site-specific conditions were those that were standard for in-law apartments, so.
The only concern that I have is, and when we got our packet, the fire marshal had not made comments yet, and now I see he's made comments. Have these plans gone to the building department yet?
No.
They have
No.
not.
I'm just concerned about the furnace being in the garage because that's an open flame. And with the gas fumes, I'm not sure the building department or the fire marshal is going to be okay with that. But that's really, I mean, our purview is safety, but I do have the utmost confidence in our fire department and the building department that if they see that, they may make you move it to the storage space which you have on the second floor. Just for a safety issue, because God forbid, you know, you have fumes from a car or gas, that furnace kicks on, it's not a good thing. And the door has to be vented and stuff like that, so the fumes could get right in there. That's my only concern, but like I said, I think the building department, because the fire marshal also has to sign off on the building permit, that they might address that at that point, so don't be surprised if they do. But other than that, it looks good to me, and I have to open it to the public. There's nobody here, so you can stay right where you are. So I got to go through this. Just bear with me. Anybody in the public wish to speak on this public hearing number 2967? Going for the second time, anyone? 2967? And for the third time? 2967, questions or concerns? Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion that we close public hearing 2967, 27 Abbey Road. Special.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor of closing the public hearing? It's unanimous. Commissioners, any questions or concerns?
I just had one observation. You're a corner lot, and I'm a corner lot. I live at a corner lot. And that's a very busy area. I noticed the driveway comes out and there's a stop sign, so you might have a challenge getting out at certain times of the day. It's not going to affect my boat, but I'm just mentioning it. You might end up having to put in one of those turnaround things, because backing out on that street certain times of the day might be a little iffy.
Yeah, it does
had to
get
put a
busy over there
turnaround.
sometimes.
Yeah.
I use it a lot, but, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be
Just
something to
an
think about,
observation, not anything special, okay?
certainly.
Anyone else? Can I get a motion to approve?
I make a motion, we approve 2967, public hearing 2967.
All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Oh, my goodness.
Appreciate it.
With the 27.
With the 27 conditions that the town, standard conditions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay?
That's it?
Thank you. We're sorry it took so long. You're out of here in 20 minutes,
Thank
and
you very much.
we did it quick because you were here before us, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If I-
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, a public hearing, XZA 20-01.
The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearings at their regular meeting of Thursday, March 12, 2020, at 7 p.m. in the Town Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following application, XZA 20-01, text amendment application to Section 3.30.7 to allow increased accessory building heights in residential, commercial, industrial, and lake overview zones. Town of Enfield applicant.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Well, all right, so this is just as we discussed, raising the accessory building heights from the maximum of 12 feet to 15 feet in residential, commercial, industrial, and lakefront overlay zones. We did circulate this to the Capital Region Council of Governments. They sent back a memo saying that there were no conflicts with surrounding towns or with their plan of conservation or development or any plans of the state. We also circulated it to the town attorney. There is a memo that you should have received at your seat and regarding changing median height to mean height or adding a definition for median height into the regulations. That is the one thing that we might have to amend for this application is adding, because I believe Lori and I discussed, and it's certainly up to the commission, that the median height has really been what we've used according to zoning for pretty much everything else in town. So we certainly would be open to adding a definition for median building height to the regulations.
Yeah.
Would that require it going back to, no?
No,
Okay.
no.
I
So,
think-
I mean, but basically, the median is usually considered the mid-value between the highest peak and the lowest eve.
Yeah.
So, right there, there's your definition.
30 years has
essentially.
been that way for me.
Yeah,
so.
me too, so.
Yeah.
Commissioner Higley.
I was just going to say, it doesn't matter to me whether it's median height or mean height, as long as it's the easiest understandable for the public's definition.
Yep.
Anyone else? Comments or concerns? Questions? None? Open it to the public. Okay. I'd like to open it to the public now. Anyone in the public wishing to speak for or against XZA 20-01? There is nobody in the public, so going once, going twice, third time. Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing, please?
I move that we close public hearing XZA 20-01.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor of closing the public hearing? Opposed? It's unanimous. And Commissioner Higley, are there any questions, comments, or concerns at this time before we move forward to vote? Commissioner Higley,
Talk that one out.
you're reading.
Okay, I'm reading. Okay, XZA 20-01, text amendment application, section 3.30.7, to allow increased accessory building heights in residential, commercial, industrial, and lake overlay zones, with the modification in verbiage from the town attorney's office.
Is that a motion to approve?
Yes.
All in favor?
Did we get a second
Opposed?
on that?
What's that?
Did we get a second on that?
Second.
Okay.
Now we do. And then
All in favor, again, sorry. It's unanimous. Thank you. Next, public hearing, XZA 20-20.
No, 02.
20.
Wait a minute. Okay. 20-XZ, the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearings at their regular meeting of Thursday, March 12th, 2020, at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following application, XZA 20-02 text amendment application to remove Thompsonville Village Center from the Enfield zoning regulations and zoning map, parentheses, replacement Thompsonville District regulations adopted 2019, close parentheses, Town of Enfield applicant.
Jen?
So at your desk, we only printed 2 copies, but there are the full regulations that show all of the changes that we would be making in the regulations. But essentially, it's just removing any references to the Thompsonville Village Center, which was replaced by the Thompsonville Districts in January 2019, and removing from the map the Thompsonville Village Center zoning, which we're working on also getting the Thompsonville districts integrated into our zoning map as well. We also circulated this to the Capital Region Council of Governments. Again, they had no comments, there were no conflicts, and we circulated it to the town attorney, and he had no issues with it either. So,
Commissioners, any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, I'd like to open it to the public at this time. Anybody wishing to speak for or against XZA 2020, please come forward. What? 2002. Sorry. Please come forward. There's nobody here for the record. It's going once, going twice, going 3 times. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion, we close XZA 20-02.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor? Unanimous. Public hearing's closed. Any questions, comments, or concerns? No? Commissioner Higley?
Motion to approve XZA 20-02 text amendment application to remove Thompsonville Village Center from the Enfield zoning regulations and zoning map. Replacement Thompsonville District regulations adopted 2019. Those are in parentheses under XZA 20-02.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. 2 more times. XZA 20-03.
Yep. The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearings at their regular meeting of Thursday, March 12th, 2020 at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following application. XZA 20-03 text amendment application to Section 9.10.7 to authorize administrative approvals in the Enfield Planning Office, Town of Enfield applicant.
So for this one, we made the proposed amendments as we had discussed at the previous meeting, with the exception of shall versus must, which was a conversation last time. I consulted with the one of the assistant town attorneys who sort of guided me towards shall because it's consistent with what's in the regulations. Also, we noted that in section 2.00 interpretation, it's basically defined there that shall is mandatory. So we felt that we should keep shall in the regulation as proposed for the changes to the site plan modifications. We also circulated this to CROG. They didn't have any issues with it. And we also circulated it to the town attorney, and there is a memo from their office basically talking about removing the requirement for consultation with the chairman. So that is up to the commission. Those are the recommendations of the town attorney, if you want to discuss that.
Commissioner Higley.
In that memo, there was a section, I don't have it with me, there was a section that said may call or contact the chair. It should be will. We wanted it to be mandatory. In other words, you're going to get administrative approval, but he's going to say to you, no, we don't need to see it. We don't need to hear about it. Go ahead and do it. And may belies the, possibility of not calling, so.
So I did speak with Mark Serrato a little bit about this, and the wording that he proposed was really to protect the chairman from making it the one and only decision. So that was his explanation.
Yeah, he represents us, though, so he's not,
But it could be interpreted that he's already made a decision if it comes back to you for another reason or what.
Well,
or
if it
gets
comes
appealed.
back to the commission, the decision I made was to come back to the commission to let them all speak.
I hear what the assistant town attorney is saying, and I understand what happens, but I personally would like to see Will, because I have faith in our chair, and if we don't have faith in the chair, then we get rid of him and get somebody else. But that's just me.
Commissioner
So-
DeGray.
I have to agree with Commissioner Higley that because of past history, and not that we don't trust our town employees, but because we've had such changeover in the last several years, giving the
This would be an.
chair of the commission the ability to say, yeah, I think the whole commission should hear this, or, no, that's so minor, go ahead. I think that's what we were looking for. And, things happen, and we just would like to continue to give the chair some kind of authority for that. I hear what the town attorney is saying, but I'm also thinking why we've put that there.
Yeah, I think there was also just some concern, like if for some reason the chairman, whoever it was not available, and, these people, the applicant wanted to get approval and we don't meet for another 3 weeks or something. He was just trying to open it to all possibilities, but I understand what you're saying, and I don't have a problem with it. So
I'm just thinking
I would
that-
say shall instead of
Right.
will, though.
Yeah, that's not a problem. The thing that is today with the cell phones, we're so connected that,
Yeah,
And
I
if
don't
he's
think
not
it'll be a
available-
problem.
You are.
right, and if he's not available,
It's Monday to
Right.
Friday, 9 to 5,
I know.
so
right,
But you're
so,
in hospital.
I
He better not
what
be.
they say, it's cool.
say it for the record.
Okay.
Commissioner Ladd.
I also agree that the chairman should have the ability to decide whether it was a serious or a minor question. And I think he's well qualified to do that, so I don't see a problem with it at the moment. If I do, we can change it again.
Again, I don't have a problem with it.
This is, just to be clear, this is just to, all the conversation's going to be is, does it meet administrative approval or doesn't it?
Right.
There's no decision about, if it doesn't meet the regulation or it needs to come in front of us, it comes. She wouldn't even call me on it. And I'm trying to speed things up and right a wrong that I felt was done years ago by returning the power back to our staff, because I have full confidence in the staff. And if the commission's comfortable with a phone call, by all means, and I'll answer the phone, and it just makes things a lot faster, and I think it makes things a lot easier for you. So I think we're all on board with this agreement, so, and I know you guys can live with it, simple phone call versus 3 weeks.
Agreed. There is a suggested paragraph that the,
Yeah, and that's where Commissioner
Attorney.
Higley is saying the word may needs to get changed.
to shall.
Yeah.
Will.
Well, shall is consistent.
Yep.
So we will add that paragraph, and instead of may, we shall say shall.
And I'll refer to it.
And thank you for your vote of confidence on staff level.
Any other questions from the commission before I open it to the public hearing? Anyone in the public wishing to speak for or against text amendment change, public hearing 2003? Please come forward. For the record, there's nobody in the audience. Going once, going twice, 3 times. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I just had one. Okay, never mind.
Okay, you got to ask before we close the public hearing.
Could I ask something, just very minor, just out of curiosity? Under A, 2A, it says, as written, this clause appears to grant the chairman a principal role in determining whether an application should be approved or denied. I didn't take our discussion at the last meeting as that. I thought it was just for him to make an executive decision, very minor, saying, this is such a minor thing. He's not deciding whether it's approved or denied. He's deciding if there's a need for it to come before the board.
That's why I stated for the record,
Okay.
it is only for administrative approval.
Okay.
It's really not anything to do with any
Okay.
application.
Yep.
It's just whether it
Yeah.
meets administrative approval or it doesn't, so.
I just wanted the public to know
Right,
that
so
we're
the-
not
right.
grandstanding here.
I'm not for or against anything. It's whether they approve it or if they come in front of us and we approve it. That's all I'm doing, so.
That answers my
And
thing.
which
Thank
I
you.
think is going to make our department a lot more town-friendly.
Yep.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing?
Mr. Chair, I believe during our discussion, part of this was to streamline the process, to make it much easier for the applicant. So I think I want to, make sure we remind ourselves of that, too. That's
Absolutely.
the big part of this.
Yep.
Thank you.
Motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion, we close XZA 20-03.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded.
With that
All in,
one change.
we're closing the public hearing. All in favor of closing the public hearing? Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. Now, is there anybody who would like to have a discussion on this matter? Commissioner DeGray?
We just want to make sure that we make the modification to this approval, that all modifications shall be approved for site plan shall require the filing of the application. I'm not going to read the whole thing. That everything is already come to us, but you're having some kind of slight modification due to whatever, that the Director of Planning or his or her designee shall consult with the Commission's chair to determine whether the applicant is eligible for administrative review as set forth in subsection B and C. And that only means if there's a minor change, he's only going to decide whether to bring it back to us or just say, go forth and let the applicant do whatever modification they have to. That's all it means.
Okay. Commissioner Higley?
Motion to approve XCA 20-03 text amendment application to section 9.10.7 to allow planning staff to authorize administrative approval in accordance to the documents submitted under XCA 20-03 with the one-word change,
The word shall.
shall.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay.
One more time.
Okay. The Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearings at their regular meeting of Thursday, March 12th, 2020, at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following application. XZA 20-04, text amendment application to section 9.10.5 to remove site restoration bond requirements, Town of Enfield applicant.
Okay.
This one's pretty straightforward, just removing the requirement of the site restoration bond from section 9.10.5. Again, we circulated this to CROG and to the town attorney, and there were no conflicts or comments.
Questions, comments from the commission?
Nope.
None? Okay, I'm going to open it to the public. Anyone wishing to come speak for or against public hearing XZA 20-04, please come forward. For the record, there's nobody in attendance. So going once, going twice, third time. Can I get a motion to close public hearing XZA 20-04?
I make a motion, we close XZA 20-04.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor of closing the public hearing? John?
John?
It's unanimous. Public hearing is closed.
Correction we need here.
Commissioner Ladd?
I noticed on the motion to approve, they got the wrong number on
I
it.
know, I already saw it.
We have to correct that.
Sorry about that.
Read it.
Sort of as amended.
Yeah,
Other than that, we're
Or
good.
just read the right number.
yeah,
Yep.
that's what I was going to do, just read the regular
Good
number.
catch, Charles.
Okay.
Commissioner Higley?
Motion to approve XZA 20-04 text amendment application to Section 9.10.5 to remove the requirement of site restoration bonds from site plan bonding. Effective date, March 28th, 2020, 15 days after
So
approval.
04.
Pardon me?
So 04, not 05.
20-04.
I said
No,
20-04.
you didn't. You said 05.
It's 20-04.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any questions on the motion? All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Next on the agenda is old business, 8-24 referral for 2 Broadbrook Road. I'm going to ask the commission to postpone this to the next meeting when Commissioner Suzak is here, because he was the one who had concerns about the historical value of the building. And I actually showed the building today, so I will be abstaining from the vote. And I think a good discussion needs to happen with this building if they're going to put restrictions on it. So I would like him to be part of it. And if the commission's okay, I'd like a motion to postpone to our next meeting, unless somebody wants to move forward with it tonight.
I just have a question.
Commissioner Alamo.
Did you receive any information back from the council on some of the things we talked about? Did they communicate with you?
Well, it's in the listing agreement that the facade is to remain the same. The cupola is to be put back on the building, and the structure of the building is pretty rough. So to pull the facade off, I mean, it's going to cost somebody a lot of money to do that, which, so how strong does the town feel? Commissioner Suzak had a strong interest in that, and that's why I want him to be part of it. And that's why we'll get into it next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are-
Everybody good with that?
I was just wondering if, do you have any recommendations in the meantime
For,
for what should or should not happen with this building?
well, they're going to sell it. It's just, I know Commissioner Suzak had concerns about putting restrictions
Right.
on it.
Yeah.
And I really think that the people who are asking for these conditions to be put on the building, go look at the building. The lead paint removal alone on that building is basically what the town's asking for. That's how much it's going to cost, just to remove it.
Could,
Not to mention the structural damage, the roof, no electricity, no sewer. I mean, so the more restrictions you add to it, it's not worth anything, and the town's looking to move this off of their town-owned property and get it on the tax rolls. So if we have to work with a developer to come up with a plan to do this, but by putting restrictions on it, such as these,
You're saying that it might be too onerous to even sell? Okay.
Commissioner
I just
Higley.
wanted to report back to Nelson, that's
Could-
all.
could someone get in touch with Rick and see if he can give you a list of his concerns so that we can discuss them, be informed and discuss them and be part of the packet, if that's okay with the chair?
Well, hopefully it'll be at the next meeting.
right.
Well, I know, but, we're coming in cold the next meeting. At least we would know what it is he's discussing. It's not necessary. Okay.
Commissioner Alamo.
So that was my concerns at last meeting. If we were to put too many restrictions on the building, would it indeed be marketable anymore? And to go back to the council, because it would be the council that would put the restrictions on the building, correct?
Well, and the council's unaware of restrictions on the building right now, and that's why we really need to all get on the same page. I'm all for selling the building.
Oh, yeah,
And I'm
absolutely.
not tying up this 8-24. If they had a buyer, I'd say let's move on it right now. But I think it's going to be more marketable to an investor, you know, and maybe, you know, when I was on the council, we did a tour of all town-owned buildings, and that was one of the buildings we toured.
Wow.
So, you know, to look at what construction costs are and even lead abatement, you know, Rich is very familiar with the costs on projects like that with the Hazardville Institute, and so is the listing agent on the property. So I think if we're all on the same page and move forward, it's going to market the building a lot better for the town and get it back on the tax rolls.
That would be my main concern, to get it back on the tax rolls.
Can I get a motion to postpone?
I make a motion that we postpone 8-24 referrals for 2 Broadbrook Road.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous? New business, extension request, public hearing 2930 Enfield Terrace.
Basically, they just want an extension to pull a building permit. They are working on getting funding for their project. I believe they're even working with community development on getting some grant money. So they just need more time. The standard conditions give people 2 years to pull a building permit. So they need more time to secure funding.
Questions, comments, or concerns? Commissioner Higley.
I don't have any problem. They do a phenomenal job when they do any repairs to any of their properties, and I would rather they do it correctly and get the funding that they need to do it correctly, so I don't have a problem with giving them an extension.
Anyone else? No. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we grant the request for 1-year extension of time to obtain a building permit for public hearing number 2930 Enfield Terrace.
Right. Can I get a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor? It's unanimous. Other business, review bylaws, awaiting review. Nothing?
Yeah, it's still a town attorney. We've been keeping them pretty busy across all commissions and boards, and they've been really responsive, but there are still a few things pending, and that's one of them.
Are we like the #1 commission, though?
Well,
It's all over the place.
you got 4 of them for this meeting, so they are.
Right.
Okay, general discussion of regulations and procedures, review of request for proposals for plan of conservation and development, and
I am still fine tuning the RFQ/Ps, so hopefully in the next week I'll get a final again.
okay, we are moving on to C, discussion combining Planning and Zoning Commission and the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Agency. So this is something as far as streamlining the process in the town of Enfield. It was this way not that long ago, and with the amount of wetlands in the town of Enfield, planning and zoning and wetlands really need to work together side by side, because there's, you know, got to be give and take, whether it's the setbacks or mitigation or whatever. Otherwise, Enfield's really, you know, gridlocked by the amount of wetlands, because 50% of Enfield right now that's built wouldn't be able to be built by today's regulations. So by us merging the 2 boards together, we can work with an applicant and find the best way for everybody to move forward or not, to try to take some of the land that's just sitting like the industrial park, and, you know, whether we get 1, 2, or 3 more lots out of that acreage that's sitting there, it only benefits all the residents of the town. So that was my thought for doing this, and this isn't a crazy idea, because that's how it's been forever, until I believe it was 12, 15 years ago, they split them up. So. Commissioner Higley.
The inland wetlands is a state agency. Does the state have any say if we combine them or not?
We were combined. It
I
was-
no, I'm saying that if we wanted to go back to being combined, does the state have to bless it?
I don't believe so. But there is specific training for the Wetlands commissioners. You need to go through the DEEP training for wetlands. There's also different timeframes, statutory timeframes for when they make their, when they could take action and things of that nature. And I actually need to kind of bone up on what that is because they've changed drastically since the last time I was a wetlands agent, so. But I do not believe that the state says that you cannot have it combined. However, very few towns do, because I think it's a lot of work. I would just remind the commissioners that, the planning and zoning commissioners, that you do aquifer protection, flood zones, and your planning and zoning. So that's 4 right there. And you're about to be doing plan of conservation and development workshops and zoning regulation workshops. And we haven't actually brought the aquifer protection regulations back up to par, and we have to go through the what is the
Basically, the
I guess
department,
the re-permitting of it.
yeah,
So-
starting over.
So probably we'll have our new person do that. So, but that's going to take time as well. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
Commissioner DeGray.
Just a quick observation is we're talking inlands and wetlands and aquifer. Why aren't they combined? Just because it's dealing basically with the same areas. I
Not
mean,
ex-
yes, an aquifer is under the ground and.
It's also
but it-
drinking water. The rest is.
Yeah, but I'm just saying is, you've got inlands and wetlands, and they're looking at the same thing as, what kind of business is going in or whatever. And we have businesses placed over an aquifer years ago, not today, but years ago, that could have polluted our water, our drinking water. I'm just curious, just a curiosity, why they.
Well, they're two actually very different entities, aquifers and wetlands. Wetlands are soil-based, and there are ways that you can put regulated uses in the wetlands and mitigate it, whereas the aquifer, you can't really do that. And also, the requirements for both aquifer and wetlands are just vastly different.
Just curious
So,
why it's separated, that's all. Just being nosy.
Nosy's good.
Commissioner Limo.
So if aquifer is currently under us, correct? So wouldn't that, and kind of dovetailing off what you were saying, wouldn't that make more reason for wetlands to be part of us? Aquifer is here now, and it's not like we have, and you're talking about being too busy, it's not like we have a monthly agenda with aquifer, it's just periodically. It's not like we're taking, but it's already here, so wouldn't it make sense for wetlands to be part of us as well? My observation as well.
I agree, that,
Yeah.
but what we're saying is that aquifer is not correctly implemented right now, and it will have to be, and we will have to notify every single landowner over the aquifer and give them a time frame that they can come here. So you don't have anything on the aquifer agendas right now, but you have a potential to have a lot of aquifer
For
applications.
registration?
For registration.
But we've been supposedly doing that ever since the Aquifer Act came in.
What we're saying is that DEEP wants us to start over and notify everybody all over again and give them a time frame to come in again.
well, I can tell you,
And
you
register.
can register my house, and, because I'm also on an aquifer and I have wetlands, so register my house.
But to come in and register, they just go to your office and register.
No, they have to come here.
They have to come.
I mean, it's not like we can make them tear their building down, so it's just a matter, this is a data collection, I would think, right? Based on the, But we have to vote on it? It's already there. So
Vote on it.
explain to me what this state wants us to do. It's unfunded, I would imagine, but
Yep.
what do they want us to do?
So basically for Aquifer, we have to advertise it. There's going to be public hearings to update the regulations. We're going to have all new forms for them. Once all of that is taken care of, we have to send letters out to everybody over the aquifer and give them X amount of time to file their applications to register. After that, at least the people with regulated uses over the aquifer have to come in here and before the board for you to review the use there, and staff will have conducted site visits and reports, and all of that information comes to this commission. We also have to have management reports for hazardous materials and all kinds of things like that. And if basically they don't do that, then their use over the aquifer is not considered registered, which then means we go into enforcement, which is something we're also working with town attorney on.
So what you just said, I understood. And it sounds like it's making a lot more work for your department having to go through, because if it's a regulated use, is the only time they're going to come in front of us. As a regulated use, you're going to be doing the due diligence in your office to see that they're complying or they're not complying, and you're going to come to us and you're going to tell us they're great, they're not. And, you know, how many are not are the ones that we would really be working with, because the ones you say they're doing what they're supposed to do, they're in great shape, done, it's approved. And, you know, trying to streamline the process for everything. And it's about growing Enfield. And that's why I want to merge the two departments together. I understand we're going to get busy meetings. You know, we canceled our last meeting because there was nothing on it. We're moving things right along here. You know, we're trying to stay to the regulation. It's no more guessing games. It's no more opinions or feelings. The regulation's pretty clear. You guys are doing a phenomenal job getting us prepared for the meetings. And I just think merging the two together is going to help us. And one thing I would ask, Lori, you to look in when you're looking at the timeline, is the timeline for wetlands and planning and zoning, if they were run the same night, is it concurrent?
No.
So it has to go through wetlands timeline first, then the planning and zoning timeline starts?
Absolutely. That's why they typically have, I mean, if they only had one meeting a month, it would be fine, because there's a petition period that you have to sit through, so they could hear an application, but they can't take action on it until 15 days after the first meeting. Of course, if you met every 2 weeks, it's only 14 days. So you actually have to wait a full month until you could take action on the item. So even though you might be hearing let's say you have an application for planning and zoning, site plan, and a wetlands application, and you hear it the same night, you can't take action on anything for a month because of the wetlands.
Or 15 days?
Or 15 days, but that would mean you'd have to have a meeting on the 16th day. And that's not the way the meeting's set up. It's very deliberate that it's 15 days and not 14. So,
But we're trying to streamline the process, try to get big things going with all the land that we have just sitting there. And if we have to call a special meeting on the 15th day to get something approved, you know, I mean,
well, but that's where it's like, you are going to be having a lot of meetings with this POCD and the zoning regs. I mean, it's going to take a lot of time for this commission. So, I mean, I just think maybe waiting a year to do this might be better, just because you're going to have a lot on your plates. So, but that's my opinion, and I do believe that it also has to go to town council.
it what?
I do believe it would have to go to town council if you were to combine them. But,
Back. If we were to put them back.
yeah,
Yeah, okay. It just,
Yeah.
the way the way I'm taking it is we're trying to do something that's not been done, and it's been that way in this town forever, until, 12 years ago.
They changed the time.
So I'm just trying to put it back the way it was, so, because how do we work with wetlands? And what's the benefit by mitigating wetlands or cutting a side yard setback back 10 feet? What's more detrimental? Well, we don't have that. And we're never going to be able to get any of these parcels in Enfield, any hope of development, unless we start doing something like that.
As far as the meeting dates, are they set by state statute? They're set by us? They're set by our bylaws? So can't we adjust those meeting dates to meet the wetlands requirement of the 15 or 16 days? Can we shift our meeting? I mean, I know right now it's the second and fourth Thursday. Can't that, as long as we meet twice a month, does it have to be? Can't we mirror
You could-
in the
you
dates
could-
so we don't have that problem?
I mean, yes, I mean, that's a possibility, yeah.
How many wetlands
I mean,
how many wetlands
The
applications?
planning and zoning could meet on the wetlands nights if
Right,
you
so-
were combined
Right.
commission.
We just have to file, I would imagine, we can check with the town attorney, but I imagine we'd have to file a public notice saying we are now changing our meeting date to
Oh, yeah.
X meeting date.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So
all statutory
let me ask you,
requirement.
maybe off the top of your head, if you know, how many pending applications is there for wetlands right now?
One?
One. So, I mean, I don't think that's going to break our back, especially if we adjust the meeting dates. I don't see it as a workload. And the projects we're working on are, just projects that came up that have to be done, revisited again. It's not like it's going to be constant. And so I don't see a time or load that we can't handle.
There's also
I
the
don't think the
issue,
wetlands and planning are the issues, it's the other things we have coming forward, the plan of conservation.
that's
And
the
I
point.
think that's what Lori is concerned with.
Yeah.
So yes, in the next 12 months, taking off, doing all this, we may get buried. As of right now, I do agree to a point, Commissioner Higley. Wetlands has very little on the agenda. We have almost nothing on the agenda as of right now. And I, for one, got on this commission hoping to have a lot come to the agenda, because that's moving Enfield forward. And that's what I want to do.
Some of the actions we've just taken, streamlining, hopefully is going to bring some applications for us to review and get some construction going in our community.
I've been on this
Commissioner
commission a dozen years, as you all know, and it ebbs and flows. We have nothing going on, or not much going on right now. 2 months from now, we could be up to our ears in it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Hopefully, we will be, because that's normal construction business starts. Everybody starts pushing, oh, I want to do it tomorrow now. And that's coming. I know there's some projects coming up that we're going to see that are going to be big ones.
Yep.
And we're not going to have time to fool around with extra commissions, I don't think. And wetlands going to have stuff coming up as part of that, because 90% of the town is wetlands. So, and I know they're coming.
John?
I certainly appreciate what you're saying, Mr. Chairman. Being involved with wetlands and P&Z as an applicant for, over my years, sometimes there is a conflict or difference of opinion and so forth, where the application gets into a stalemate situation. I do worry about our workload, and I got a question for Lori. Is it customarily, or is it still customary where the Wetlands Commission do site walks on certain sites? So they still participate in site walks and visits to and so forth. So just another thing, and I'm not sure when they do that. If they schedule those on Saturdays or just random.
I think that they typically go out on their own or with one other commissioner, so that's not a
Okay.
quorum.
Same
typically.
thing we're supposed to be doing for applications that are in front of us.
Yeah.
Just another thing to consider about a burden. Do we know what we're getting ourselves really into as far as taking on that additional responsibility? As Commissioner Ladd said, within the next couple of months, it get very, very busy. And then if
Be up to here.
this commission gets busy, the wetlands is going to get busy too, and then we could be up to our ears. So it's just something to consider, and with everything else going on, it's just something I think we all need to,
With the book coming, you're going to be busy with that, too.
that's right. So I think we all,
There'll be two people on this commission doing that.
yeah, I just don't think we should just dive into it that quickly. Just certainly consider it. I'm in favor of certainly considering it.
Commissioner Grillo, anything?
No, I think definitely the workload's coming. As a builder, this is the season coming out of winter and spring. I think we give it, I have no problem, but I think she's right. I think we give it just a little time just to see what the workload's going to be like in the next couple months anyways, because this will be the busiest time in the next couple months for most builders. But I agree, I have no issues with joining them, but I really do think we should see what comes forward to us in the next couple months at least.
So how would you guys feel about sending it to the council and see what their opinion is on it? Because if they shoot it dead, it's dead. I mean, it doesn't matter what we say. And whether they're for or against it, then if they're for the merger, then we can discuss it further and get into more details. But if they're against it, there's no point to even carry on a discussion.
Well, one thing I think with this virus thing going on, we'll be lucky if any of us are meeting in the next month.
Well, I mean, you gotta continue living life.
That's going to
I
backlog
mean,
everything.
Yeah, I agree with sending it to the council and getting their opinion. I would have a hard time going forward with joining that if they were against it.
I don't even know that we could.
Yeah, well, and there you go. So I think let's go that avenue first, and let's get their opinion on it at least.
Right.
I'm in favor of that. Let's bring it to the council, and we'll get a roadmap from them.
Just get their blessing
Yeah.
or
Oh,
denial.
right,
I
right.
mean, because if they say no, whether we can move forward or not, I mean, I respect the council enough. They have, their agenda. They appoint us, and they appoint wetlands. So ultimately, whether legally they have the say or they don't, I respect their opinion is final. So if they say no, then, like I said, it's not worth even discussing. But if they're on board, then we consider and try to work out the details a little bit more.
And then it moves us down the calendar to see if we have any applications coming and see what kind of activity we have as well.
Well, any application that goes in front of wetlands then comes to us.
Right.
They don't come,
I mean, even our own
right,
applications.
so wetlands is gonna get, huh? I understand that, but any big development that's gonna happen
Yeah.
has to go to wetlands first, then it has to come to us. So it's still
Regardless?
a meeting, right?
Right.
We're just gonna deal with both topics at the same time, which saves you guys
And-
2 meetings a month at night. Ooh, you didn't
So-
think that.
Not necessarily.
Let me, so even if there's not wetlands involved in the project or the proposal, they still have to go to wetlands based on the size?
No.
No.
There has to
No,
be
no.
some wetlands
Right.
identified?
Yes.
Okay.
So once again, you would all have to go through DEP training to become
Frank
Wetlands
sat on
Commission members.
wetlands. Ginny has sat on.
I sat on wetlands.
wetlands. So,
Right.
go ahead.
I don't have any problem exploring new ways to better utilize our time and the value of our customers who are the citizens. My challenge is I totally agree with John and Lori that POCD, if you've never been part of it before, you have no clue what's coming. And it starts out slow, and then you're pulling your hair out because you're going in every single different direction to get it done in time so that it's published and ready to go. And I really, if everybody wants to send it to the council to see their opinion, that's fine. But I'd like to see it put, not on the back burner, but just put kind of to the side until the POCD gets at least rolling and you get a taste of what's coming. I've seen 2 POCDs, and they're really, really time-intensive and labor-intensive. So,
A lot of committee work.
yes.
Right.
Yes.
And then it comes to the commission.
Right.
Right.
but the commission makes up part of the committees.
Right,
Okay.
volunteers from the
Yes,
commission.
yes,
Yes.
Okay.
So it wouldn't be on our floor during a regular meeting
No.
until the final vote. So it has nothing to do with the actual meetings until the final. The committees meet, whether Frank Alimo and Ginny are on the committee.
I'm sorry, it will come back to the commission during the process for your okay, or, you're saying that, yes, we want to go this direction, or no, we don't want to go that direction. I mean, there's going to be a lot of public information meetings,
I understand.
public participation, and this is, also goes with the zoning, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I make a suggestion that we put this discussion about combining the inlands and wetlands and the zoning, planning and zoning, under opportunities and unresolved issues, and for a couple of months? It's still on our agenda. You can bring it forth anytime, and we can revisit it then.
Why don't we send it to the council and see if they even want us to revisit it?
There we go. We can do that, and then if,
Because if they kill it, it's done. We don't even have to have
Right.
another discussion about it. So I think.
I agree.
We got the consensus for that, because
Yeah.
there's no sense to beat a dead horse
and
if
if
the
they
council
do
says no.
say yes, then we can put it under unresolved issues and
Right, and
on
if,
our agenda until
and if
we
they
have
say
the
no, we all agree, that's it, it's
it's
done.
over. All
Right.
right, works for me.
I agree.
So can I get a motion to send it to the council?
So moved, I make a motion to send, we don't have anything we're calling it, on the
Merger of
agenda, the merger of wetlands and planning and zoning, for council's opinion or guidance.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. Discussion, definition and requirements for attic space. If you can stand up without hitting your head, it's good.
At the gable end?
That is the problem, though.
I know.
This was another Rick thing, because Rick goes through all of the building permits that come through that need zoning sign-off. And he's run into this issue, and I ran into this issue recently. I don't think you probably remember 28 Maple Avenue. They came before you at the end of last year, and the application was denied without prejudice, so they could give you more information. They've been working with us. Rick actually did a site inspection alongside the building department, and it came to light that there was an attic space, or what appeared to be, by our definitions, an attic space that had been used in one of the units, one of the existing units, as a bedroom. And Rick basically talked to him and said, in our regulations, attic space is not considered habitable space. So he wants a little guidance here, because it seems that people are getting the idea that if this is the attic space, if they put a little space right here, then this is the attic and the rest is habitable space. And if that meets the criteria, then he'll run with that, but that's not really the feeling that he gets from the regulations. So he was looking for a little guidance from the commission on really what is considered an attic, what would be acceptable as habitable space, and what really shouldn't be considered habitable space. Because a lot of these things that he's finding are that houses were remodeled and those spaces were created without any permits, but they've been there for a billion years, and they turn into, there's usually fires that happen and stuff that makes these things come to light. So yeah, he was just really looking for some guidance.
Just clear. 28 Maple Avenue, was that the property where they tore down the side of it? And so that has other issues too. And also, I drove by it the other day, and there's another dumpster in the driveway, and it looks like that work is still continuing on that property. So if we could have somebody take a look at that. And I just want to state for the record that every single Star Cape would be considered attic space on the second floor by the current regulation.
That is something that the building department has pointed out as well.
So,
you're,
true.
So,
absolutely.
oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Lamb.
Oh,
Commissioner.
okay. Who's going first?
Higley.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that the fire marshals and the building department usually are the most passionate about it. It's my understanding, and I could be mistaken, but it's my understanding for the most part, they're concerned about the safety. I understand about Star Capes. I'm not talking about Star Capes. I'm talking about the older structures like Maple Avenue where, God forbid there's a fire and there's no fire stops, those people wouldn't get out. But again, I don't have a problem personally. I just think that it should be discussed with the building department and the fire marshals.
Commissioner Limo.
So you're talking about attic spaces above a two-story? A conforming
Above
two-story?
Any story.
Well, so that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that Commissioner Higley was talking about, because if you go to a third story, there's other requirements, I can't quote them, under the building code and fire code, so I think it makes a difference of what kind of building we're talking about. And just from my past experience, I would bet you there is a lot of those, not just the one you're talking about,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, there's probably, there's more than 4. So anyway, I think we need to know what size building we're talking about to say,
That's the problem, though, is the regulations don't differentiate that. So it's pretty much anything that's under the roof is considered an attic. Anything that's like this above the eaves is considered an attic. And
Right, like a Dutch colonial, the whole second floor would be considered attic space. A cape would
there's-
be considered attic space.
No, there's a crawl space. I have a Dutch colonial, a Paul Star Dutch colonial, and there's a good-sized crawl space over my second floor.
I understand that, but that's what she just said. Just because you put collar ties across and put sheetrock over it, it doesn't make it not an attic anymore. A Star Cape is the
Right.
same way.
But I can't go build a bedroom up in my,
No, you already did. Your
No.
second floor is in your roof. Think about it, Ginny. According to the regulations, I agree with you, I'm not disagreeing, but according to our regulations, your second floor is a finished attic space, and that's where they're having problems.
no. You're not having troubles with regular houses. You're having trouble with like a two-story that has an attic above it and finished it off, or rental ones that have an attic above it and finished it off. And
it is also residential, regular residential. It's
wait,
across the
Give me a
board.
for instance, so I understand
single-
what you're
yeah,
A
saying.
lot of Star
family.
Wait,
Capes
wait.
were unfinished.
Jen, give me a for instance.
So pretty much, if this is your house and the eaves are right here, anything that has a room where the ceiling is above those eaves, is that considered an attic? And even if there's that little space between the peak of,
Our regulations say that you can build a 2.5-story house. So that tells me that the second story is livable space and the half-story is attic.
That's a 2.5-story.
First floor, second floor, here's what we call an attic.
Right.
They box in.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. That's not the second floor. First floor, second floor, attic. That's what she's saying.
and what I'm also saying is
But
sometimes
look
there
at the
are
roof
homes
line,
that
Jenny.
don't have
Look at the
this.
roof line. Your roof line goes to the bottom of or top of the first floor.
I think you'll find the majority of these instances are rental properties. And I'm not painting with a broad brush. I'm just saying that a lot of the offenders are rental properties.
It's really neither here nor there, whether it's rental property or, a occupied home. The point is that we're finding this more and more. And the question is, are they allowed? Or are we more concerned of the proper access per building and fire code.
Well, to
That's
me-
whether it's in
Right.
the attic or not.
To me, if they can meet egress, height restrictions, and everything the building code requires,
Right.
the building code requires fire department approval. I know when I did 5 through 13 Maple Avenue, I gutted the building. They made me build fire separation walls from the basement all the way to the attic, and egress, windows, they went through everything, and when I followed the building code, it was 100%, and that was would have finished third floor.
So to get some guidance from us, I was talking about the height, whether it was 2 floors or 3 floors. Actually, where
just
the
like that.
regulations come in and where the teeth are to enforce it has to do with the
that
number
isn't
of
right.
families it
Just
is,
like
whether it's a
I still have
2-family
the
or a
big
3-family, because when it goes from a 2-family to a 3-family, everything changes as far as regulations and code.
That
So,
we've had, too.
so I think the inspectors have less jurisdiction, I guess you would say, on 2 families than they would on 3 and more. So, so it's hard to say what we consider an
So,
attic without
what-
knowing what.
But that's
every
still-
What
building's
we're
different.
thinking is.
Still in the building code.
Yeah.
If it's a 2-family, you have to follow this. If it's a 3-family, you have to follow that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so it's automatically going to change. If they're making the 3rd floor a 3rd unit, now they have
It's a
to
3-family
comply
unit, yeah.
with the 3-family regulations.
Which-
Every 2 years, they have to have a
Right,
fire marshal
right.
do a walkthrough.
And I believe in a fire escape.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. So without us getting into it and allowing them to go forward, if it meets life and safety with the building codes, which building codes include fire.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Then they're fine. I'm fine with
Right,
it.
it doesn't
But
even come
the-
under
Are
us.
you fine with basement?
So this becomes the attic,
Becomes an
If
enforcement.
there's egress out.
becomes crawl space.
That's going to be the next thing.
Yeah. Like if you buy one of those high-end
Yeah.
window
Have a door.
wells that creates like a stairwell,
Stairwell,
you can
yeah.
finish your base. I'm
Storage.
fine with that.
Yeah.
But if you have those little windows,
Yeah, no.
absolutely not.
Okay.
So I think it's more,
So basically, this becomes the attic,
Right.
and these
Yes.
become crawl spaces.
Yes.
I've seen hundreds of those. Not hundreds.
If
And that's
Right.
the problem.
I'm telling you, there's a
If
ton
at
of
the-
them.
If at the end of that, right there, there's either dormers with egress windows, or on each end of the gable end, they put egress windows in to get in and out. But the building code and the fire marshal's gonna dictate that. They have on many additions that I've done, because sometimes you run into a roof height issue where you can't get an egress window in, and it creates a problem. But bedroom. And see, that's where the little glitch is gonna come in. Oh, we're just using it as a living space. We're not gonna use it as a bedroom. And landlords are gonna say it, I know for a fact. So it should have to meet egress regulations, period. If you wanna finish your 3rd floor attic space, it has to meet the regulations of egress for a bedroom. Then I can live with it, no problem, because there's a way for a firefighter to get somebody out of that
Yeah.
room.
So I think the problem you're up against is these things were done years ago, probably when there was no permitting processes.
But there's also requests currently to do it.
Oh, well, we should have, I think we already have codes that address that. huh?
We don't allow finished attic space, Frank.
It says
Well,
attic
do
space
it.
shall not be considered habitable space in our regulation, and that's where we're having an issue.
So, yeah, 2.5 stories are
I'm
allowed.
talking about new applications.
Yes.
Okay.
We're talking about both.
All right, yeah, I thought you were talking about enforcing first.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times, we find out about it after the fact, but we are also having requests for it.
So you're having new applications to do that,
Yes.
to finish the 3rd floor.
Right.
So the other thing
Finish
is,
the attic.
based on Lori's drawing over here, this would become the attic up here.
Right.
And I only want to clarify, just because it does say attic space is not considered habitable space. That's the only reason I wanted to clarify that. So,
But their applications are to make them
you keep
habitable
that.
space,
They have to leave a little.
right?
we'll leave the little
So-
space on top, and that's the attic.
I think if you defer to the fire marshals and the building department, I think that's where you go with that. you know.
That's fine, there's
Absolutely.
just nothing in, zoning says attic space and then it's not
Somebody
defined, so.
somebody has a two-family house and wants to make it into a three-family house, they have to pull the proper applications and permitting and go through the whole process, and if it gets improved by the public safety and building, and then that's where we come in. I mean, I'm comfortable if I see notes in front of me that it's been approved by the fire department and the building department and whoever else has to approve it.
Yeah,
I'm
but
comfortable.
If it meets the zoning regulations, why would we even see it? That's what they're getting at. Right now, it says you cannot have finished attic space. Can't. So it wouldn't come in front of us because it's not a permitted use. What we're saying is, half of Enfield, all the Star Capes, when they were built, you had an option. Do you want the second floor finished or not?
Right.
If they didn't finish the second floor when the regulations came in, now it's attic space. It's an illegal use. So anybody who finished their second floor on a Star Cape, which everybody did, it's illegal now. It's not legal. And it doesn't make sense. You know the four families, you grew
Right.
up in one. That third floor, did you guys use it as a bedroom?
We actually had 3 floors and an attic.
Okay.
Yeah, we had 3 floors with an attic on top of it, right. Whole different layout.
Well, conversely, but I think part of the issue is that there's a lot of older, the Bigelow homes,
Right.
which most of them have that, call it attic space, but that third floor, but it's up in the attic, and there's a staircase that goes to it. And I lived in one of those, and that third floor, call it a third floor, call it an attic, was a large bedroom, and it had at least 7'6" ceilings in it, had windows, and it was very large. But you got a lot of those older homes with those huge attics, and I think that's part of the problem. And there was a staircase that goes to it, and again, it was built that way. It meets the intent of the code as far as building, the height restrictions. There's a staircase that's of legal. How do you say that you can't put a bedroom up there? To me, is it an attic or is it not? But I think that our regulations designate it as an attic and says you can't do it. I disagree with that. I think
I agree.
if it meets all the building code criteria, they should be allowed to do it. Bottom line.
I agree. I grew up on Bigelow Avenue, and we didn't have the bedroom on the third floor because the landlord never put it there, but we used to go up there as kids and play, and again, ceiling height, and I don't want somebody finishing 4'6", for their kid's room. No, this has to meet the building codes. Forget the attic definition. If you have space that meets the regulation of the building code and fire code, why can't you finish it?
Exactly.
If they require a fire escape, that's not up to us. That's
Right.
up to the building department and the fire marshal.
Right.
So I would say we totally remove the wording about attics. That makes sense, because
Just said.
great
And the people
minds
can
think
make an
alike.
application and
Right.
go through the
There is
process.
no application, Frank.
No, for the building code, I mean, for the
Right,
building
they-
department.
right.
Yeah, that's what I mean, for the
They
building.
can apply for a permit.
Permit, right.
Right.
And then,
Because those houses on
So
South
we can move
Street
that
all
forward
have
as a
big
quick
attics.
Everywhere.
yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
And like I said, there's a lot of them that are living in those attics.
Okay. So we can move that forward.
Okay, so next meeting we'll have, or is that's got to go to,
35-day. So
so
I'd
you're
move
going to
that
go
forward.
for, we're good to go forward? You need a vote on that, or?
I don't think a vote, you can vote. That certainly simplifies things, or we can just move forward with it.
Okay. And you're
We
good
have
with
our
that, Lori?
direction. We
Yep.
got our direction.
Okay. Okay.
Remove slurs, too.
Attic space. Correspondence.
You did receive the Connecticut Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies. I also sent out an email late in the day today that we received an email. It's not canceled, but it's postponed from March 26th to April 30th. And all registrations and payments need to be resubmitted. So basically, I sent out an email. If you want to go, just let me know, and we'll get you registered. I'm not sure how many people we can cover with the budget, but we'll figure that out. And other than that, I think that was the only piece of correspondence I had.
So the people that paid already, their money gets refunded?
Right. So, so we'll re-register and so.
So I assume that everybody has heard that the town of Enfield has declared a state of medical emergency. As of today, they're going to be closing the library. Actually, I think they are already closed. The libraries, the senior center, and social services are closing until further notice.
Yeah, it's at 5 o'clock tonight.
There is a
Yeah.
good chance that we will be closing the schools.
They did close the schools.
They did? Okay. I had,
5 o'clock, they closed the
okay,
schools.
I
was
left
here
like
told
10 to
me.
5 today, so haven't checked my email since then. So they do predict that things are going to get pretty bad, but this is their way, and this is going the Connecticut state's way of trying to prevent the worst. But they still say, even with this, that it's probably going to get pretty bad. So just kind of giving you a heads up. If for some reason they feel that the town hall needs to be closed, they will do so, but we will still come to work. They just won't allow people to come in. So we're going to trying to get everybody to, the public to utilize, online whenever and however they can. So
I
that's
hear
just
that
kind
all
of the
the time.
latest.
But just the employees come to work. Jen goes home, she has 2 kids that are in school. One of her kids contract it. Jen comes to work, you have it anyways. So the whole thing, and a lot of places are doing it, and it makes no sense to me.
Yeah. No, I know. I have a dog, so I'm not worried about getting it for my kids. Oh.
I already looked it up, dogs don't catch it.
So, I mean, and it's true. I mean, the 2-week incubation period, I mean, is it 2 weeks from the time that you know of some contact, or is it 2 weeks, from what? You don't know when you actually will have gotten a contact. So ultimately, that 2-week incubation or stay at home is not going to be worth anything. So it's just wash your hands, keep your social distance, and don't touch your face over and over and over again. So, and the masks do not help. So,
And stockpiling toilet paper isn't going to help your fever either.
and good luck finding any bleach or anything of that nature.
Sorry. I mean, unless this comes with a serious case of diarrhea, I don't understand
Oh, no,
it.
that's in case you run out of tissue. You still have something to wipe.
This evening, the lines at Costco were from the cash register all the way back to the meat department.
It's ridiculous.
I was going tomorrow, but only for my regular.
That's because they didn't have any more masks.
For things that I just like to have, and I just didn't even bother.
Yeah, but I wasn't going for the end of the world or even snow shoveling.
All right, we're done with this. It's nothing but that on the news. So, all set with correspondence? Commissioners' correspondence. Anyone?
We're all stuck in the house.
I think we
don't go
made
out.
good progress tonight, helping change and amend the regulations. And I think, how we doing on replacing Raquel, even though I'm sad to see her go?
The job closes tomorrow. I heard that we have 5 applicants as of today. So I don't know who they are. Or I haven't looked at them yet. So I'm
Yeah.
sure, I think we'll find somebody.
Fortunately, we train a lot of people, and once they get good,
They go.
goodbye.
And sometimes they stay.
She can't leave. Commissioner Limo.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, and through you, I was wondering if we could ask staff, I would like to see if we, when you have time, it doesn't have to be for the next meeting, can we get a list of all the town-owned property, not with buildings on it, but bare land with its relative zoning, and whether it's in wetlands or not, if it's possible. And if there is some buildings that are vacant, maybe include those. I'd like to see that if we can, if we could. Yeah. Mr. Chair, and through the chair, if it's okay, is it okay to have staff compile that list?
It is, but I mean, you could go to the Town of Enfield GIS and get the entire aerial, type in Town of Enfield, hit wetlands, and it'll layer the wetlands right on.
Well, I'm looking for town parcels owned by the town.
Yeah.
I know, I've seen that, I've seen the wetlands.
You're
Layer.
asking them to compile a lot of data.
No, not next month. I mean, it doesn't, just in the future, if you could ever,
But I think you'd be better off to isolate to one particular, say, the industrial park, a place where, because I think you and I
That's
are
one
on the
I'm
same
interested in,
agenda.
right.
So you want to see what the town owns in the industrial park and put the layers on it, wetlands
Yep.
and stuff like that.
Yep.
And that's a start. But
Sure,
to do
we
the
could-
entire town
yeah,
is.
we can start with that.
So are you looking for a map or a list?
A list.
Or both? You want a
Whatever's
list?
easy, yeah, a
And
list.
what do you want on that list?
It's
the-
zoning, well, if the town.
So
if-
there's not going to be any address if there's no structure.
Okay.
So it's going to be map
part- be
lot
map,
or a
okay.
PID. So
You want a map, right?
Right, a map,
you want a map,
yep,
not a list?
yeah, a map.
A map,
Yeah,
okay.
'cause if it's not going to be an
Just
address.
of the industrial park.
Yeah, we'll start with the
Town-owned
industrial park.
land in the industrial park.
That's, yeah, we'll start with that. Thank you. Okay, thank you. And it doesn't have to be for our next meeting. If you're busy, we have time.
With what? So you want
You could even
wetlands and
take-
zoning
Yeah.
or?
Wetlands and zoning, I would appreciate both.
Okay.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, she could just email us the GIS map.
Mm-hmm.
Because GIS will let you hit utilities, wetlands, zoning maps, soil types, escarpments. All of it is right there with the click of a button. So, and the problem is when you start compiling all that
Gets big.
on one map, now you start losing things.
Right. I'm looking for basically the zoning and the wetlands.
Right.
Well, if it's just the industrial park, it's IP. Oh, I-1, excuse me, I'm sorry, I-1. But it's all one zone.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Any other commission correspondence? Town planners report?
I don't have anything.
No, okay. You're good, Jen?
Just very busy.
Don't try to find something if you don't have it.
I think everything that I would be saying could be covered under applications to be received.
Yeah. Okay, authorization for administrative approvals. So, before we start this one, is this set now?
So there's a 15-day appeal period for regulations and things, so that's why I put that effective date at the bottom, just to let you guys know about that. But, so this one does need to be voted on, but going forward, I don't think.
Same with the roof height and everything has to wait 15 days. Okay. Continue, sorry.
So for this one, really, it's just the Head Rush Salon. It's in the Smith Farms, that corner shopping plaza. They're expanding from just 1 unit to 2 units, seeking admin approval.
Any questions, comments, or concerns?
What building is it again?
74 Palumba, it's one of those, the Smith Farm corner.
Okay, thank you.
Is that the building that had the water problem? I know that a pipe burst in one of those buildings. It actually closed down a couple of the businesses. Is that in that same building?
I
Because there was a hairdresser in it, and I don't remember the name of the hairdresser that was there, but there was the eclectic
It's over by
peacock
Smith's
and
Dairy,
yeah,
those plazas, right?
it's in yeah, and I mean,
If there was a water problem, I was unaware of it.
a water pipe burst, and kind of closed down a couple of businesses over there. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. I'm not sure about that, but the building department would probably have that under control, so.
No, other than that, I don't have a problem with it.
All in favor of administrative approval? Unanimous?
Was there a motion? Wait, did a motion
Make
and
a
second?
motion
Sorry.
for authorizing administrative approval, SPR 1805.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor? Unanimous. Applications to be received.
So, 37 Bacon Road, as listed, is the Shaker Pines Fire Department. They would like to add 2 building additions and do a parking lot expansion. They have to go through wetlands first. They're scheduled for next Tuesday. And then they will be before this commission for site plan approval. That was the only application that had come in at that time, and we have a whole host of other ones that are pending, going to be filed, and that have been filed now. So we have 118 Hazard Avenue that currently is a vacant spot in between the Hartford Healthcare Facility and the Johnson Memorial Facility. There seems to be a medical office trend going that way. And they would like to put an assisted living facility over there. They have to, assisted living. And so they are going before wetlands for a wetland boundary delineation, which is a public hearing, because they want to change the boundaries of the wetlands. They were flagged differently than how the town has them flagged. And then once they're done with that, they'll move forward with planning and zoning. 1283 Enfield Street, if you recall, recently we had a text amendment to allow multifamily residential in the historic district. That same applicant is now coming forward with an application to do just that. He filed a second application for 38 Maple Street out in Hazardville, or near Hazardville, for the same type of thing. We also have a text amendment application pending, and we have 2 more that are under review that the applicants would like to actually file the applications. We're just reviewing them for wording and language and whatnot. So those are all coming forward. And that's all I have for now. 7. And we're working with 28 Maple to get, they're going to ART because they've changed their proposal. So lots of stuff coming.
Just one quick thing is, it sounds like there's some stuff coming before us, and if the town decides to close down the town hall,
What happens?
is how, if, I'm doing the what ifs here, you know? Is there some way that we would be able to do like a conference type thing so that these applicants could actually come before us? And then we could call in from our own little homes and have these hearings, like a conference type call? I'm just, where the applicant can come in and, I don't know. I'm just trying to think that this is a busy season for building. And I'd hate to be the one, saying, oh, well, sorry, people can't come. The world is going to go on. From my understanding is most of the people who are going to get this won't even know they have it. It's more for the elderly and for the very young that get affected by this more than anybody. So, yes, old people like us. But I'm just saying is the world goes on, and I don't want to hold up applicants. So I don't know if the town's thought about that, how we could best serve our community and still keep everybody healthy. That's my concern.
I say let's cross the bridge if we get to it.
I say let's come in anyway. We're gonna get it, we're gonna get it.
I do know that IT is working on, I don't know what they called it, it was some program that allows call-in meetings.
Yeah,
However, I don't know if statutorily we could do that.
that would be.
So that,
Right.
two different things.
All right, I'm just,
And I've been part of public meetings that we've actually conferenced people in. A meeting was going on with.
Right, but if it's a pub-
Right,
Yeah.
with the,
If it's a public hearing, I
Right.
don't know,
how do you get that person? Right?
yeah, I mean, so you'd have to
Right.
know who, ahead of time, who that person was, so. So that might be difficult. If we didn't have, if it was just administrative stuff, then we could probably do that. But we'll approach that when and if it happens.
Opportunities and unresolved issues? None? Okay. Do we have,
I make a motion, we adjourn?
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned.